Hey, what's up guys, it's Darkham Duels, and today we're going to be doing a Raidraptor deck profile. So this is a really awesome deck that makes all sorts of crazy rank 4 monsters and climbs all the way up to rank 10 monsters using the extremely powerful rank up magic spell mechanic, which is a really cool aspect to a deck that lets you rank up your monsters from all the way from rank 4 all the way up to rank 10, which is really awesome. And it's a awesome deck that is comparable a little bit to me to Black Wings, being a wing beast deck that can do all sorts of crazy stuff and feels honestly a little bit more like Black Wings than it used to, because you'll be able to special summon out so many more monsters onto your side of the field compared to what this deck used to be able to do. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have all sorts of awesome rewards you guys like, getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Raider's Wing. So Raider's Wing is a really good card in this deck that has the ability, this card is always treated as a Phantom Knight monster and a Raidraptor monster, which is a really powerful effect that basically fused the 2 archetypes together, which is why I even have the Phantom Knight mat under this deck, because they did pretty much fuse the 2 archetypes together between Kurosaki and Yuto. They just totally were like, hey, you guys are best buds, you got the same archetype now. And you have union cards too together, like not union monsters, but like cards that work as the same thing, like this, where they're both Phantom Knights and Raidraptors. But this card has a really powerful effect. This card, if this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can detach a material from a Dark XZ monster, special summon this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field, and you only use the effect of Raider's Wing once per turn. And an XZ monster gains the following effect if it is used as a material for it: that your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. So it totally makes them untargetable, which is really powerful. We then play 3 copies of Strangle Lanius. Strangle Lanius is a really good card in the deck too, because if you control a dark monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and also you can special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dark monsters. And if you control a dark XZ, or if you control an XZ monster with a dark XZ material on it, then you get to target 1 level 4 or lower Raidraptor monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. This card is extremely powerful. At first glance, I looked at this card and was like, it's okay. You can special summon it to your side of the field, it's fine. But then also giving it that revival effect from the graveyard is insanely good. This card is ridiculously good in this deck now, and probably one of the most powerful Raidraptors ever created outside of like Tribute Lanius. This card is like the best one now. We then play 3 copies of Tribute Lanius. Tribute Lanius is really powerful too, because during your main phase, if this card is normal or special summon, you get to send 1 Raidraptor monster or 1 Raidraptor card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of itself. And also has the ability that during the main phase 2, if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, then you get to add 1 rank up magic spell, quick play spell, from your deck to your hand. And also you cannot special summon monsters the rest of the turn except Raidraptor monsters, which is fine because you're usually not going to use the main phase 2 effect. You're usually just going to use the Foolish Burial effect, that when you normal summon this, you're going to send Mimicry Lanius from your deck to the graveyard to give you a search, which is going to be the big effect that you're going to be using with Tribute Lanius anyways. You're not going to be doing the other effects of this card. We then play 3 copies of Vanishing Lanius. Vanishing Lanius is a ridiculously good card in this deck too, because what this card does is once per turn during your main phase, or during your main phase, if this card was normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Raidraptor monster from your hand, which is really good to be able to just get you 2 rank 4s on your side of the field, or 2 level 4s to go into a rank 4. We then play 3 copies of Pain Lanius, rounding it out for the last 3 of in the deck for the Raidraptors. But what this card does is basically you target a Raidraptor on your side of the field, and when you do, you take damage equal to the lowest between the attack and defense. So for example, if I targeted Tribute Lanius has 400 defense, I would take 400 life points of damage. You special summon Pain Lanius to your side of the field, and it becomes the same level as the copy of your Tribute Lanius, which is really powerful and a really good effect, just to be able to get you that additional monster on your side of the field that becomes a level 4. It starts out as level 1, but as soon as it touches the field, once you targeted a Raidraptor on your field, it becomes the same level as that monster. We then play 2 copies of Mimicry Lanius. Mimicry Lanius, I personally do not ever use more than 2 in a game. If you're using more than 2, you're doing something weird. What this card does, the big effect of this card, is when it's in the graveyard, the turn it was sent to the graveyard, if this card was sent to the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can banish it to add a Raid Raptor card from your deck to your hand, which can be any of your Raid Raptor cards. It can be a copy of your rank up magics that have Raid Raptor in the name. It can be any of, well, there isn't one that has a Raid Raptor in the name, but it can be Raid Raptor's Nest, and it can be any of your Raid Raptor monsters, which is really, really helpful to be able to get your Raid Raptor cards from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Raid Raptor Heal Eagle. Heal Eagle has the ability that if all the monsters you control are Raid Raptor monsters, minimum 1, then you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can banish this card from the graveyard to target 1 Raid Raptor spell or trap in your grave and add it back to your hand, which can be kind of helpful. I usually just use this as special summon effect. It helps out just to give us an additional monster in the deck that can special summon to the field to use as link material to go into Wise Tricks, because Wise Tricks is the main one you're going to be going into. Now I play a single copy of Vulture. Vulture comes in handy a little bit too, because once per turn you contribute it to target a rank up magic spell in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. But you cannot XE summon for the rest of the turn except using a rank up magic spell, which is totally fine, but it just helps out a lot to be able to go into this card and be able to get your rank ups out of the graveyard. Then we play a single copy of Singing Lanius. This card can be special summoned from your hand if you control a XZ monster, which is really cool. Then we play a single copy of Ancient Cloak. Ancient Cloak can be banished from your graveyard to add 1 The Phantom Knight card from your deck to your hand, which is pretty helpful to be adding the Phantom Knight cards from your deck to your hand. And a single copy of Silent Boots. You can banish Silent Boots from the graveyard to be able to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand as well. We play a single copy of Zapdos the Elite because you got to play 1 Blackwing in the deck. It's just kind of sneaking in there. But basically what this card does is if you have it in the graveyard, you can target a face-up card on your side of the field and bounce it back to your hand. And when you do, you special summon this card to your side of the field and take 400 points of damage. And you can only use its effect once per turn. It's a good rank 4. It helps you with rank 4 plays a lot. And it's overall just a really good card. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the hand trap monsters, and let me show you what I'm playing for that, because you do play quite a few hand traps. You play a few hand traps in the deck. So we're going to go off with 3 copies of Ash Blossom. The 3 copies of Ash Blossom help out in the deck a lot because the Ash Blossoms just stop your opponent from going into all sorts of shenanigan plays and stops your opponent from touching their deck. We then play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler helps out a lot in the deck too because you're stopping your opponent with monster effects during the main phase. So this card helps out quite a lot to stop your opponent as well. You could maybe put in a copy of 3 Impermanence if you want to play Impermanence, but I don't because I play Shade Brigandine in this deck, which is why I'm kind of trying to pull away from Impermanence when I use Phantom Knight engines, because if you get pushed to go second, then you kind of turn off your entire package of your Phantom Knight cards if you use Shade Brigandine and your copy of Impermanence. If you use Impermanent first, it turns off Shade Brigandine to be able to activate on the same turn. So you kind of want to avoid that if you do play your copies of your Shade Brigandines in the deck, which I do. So that's it for the hand traps. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial just sends Mimicry from deck to graveyard if you don't have Tribute Lanius, which is really helpful in the deck, or sends one of your Phantom Knight cards to the graveyard so you can banish it and add Shade Brigandine from your deck to your hand to be able to have you an additional monster on your side of the field. With a single copy of Raid Raptor's Nest, Raid Raptor's Nest helps out in the deck quite a lot too, because it has a neat effect that if you control 2 or more Raid Raptor monsters, you can add 1 Raid Raptor card monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is pretty good that it just basically searches from deck or graveyard. It's kind of like a not so great version of Black Whirlwind, but it's still good to play as a 1-up. We play 1 copy of Rank Up Magic Soulshave Force. This card is the card that you're going to be searching in the deck so much, it's ridiculous. And what it does is really powerful. Basically what you do is you pay half your life points to target a Raid Raptor XZ in your graveyard, special summon it to your side of the field. And when you do, you special summon a monster that's 2 ranks higher than the monster you had on the field. So for example, if I revive my copy of Force Strix, I can go into a copy of the really powerful Cyber Dragon Infinity, which gives me an Infinity on my side of the field for a negation, and just overall helps the deck quite a lot. It does cost half your life points, but if you've already lost some life points in this deck, it's not that big of a deal. But it's still a really powerful card to play in this deck. So then we're going to be playing a single copy of Skip Force. Skip Force, I still think is a good 1-of in the deck. Even though you're not playing Ultimate Falcon Turbo anymore, this card can help out a lot to be able to go into a copy of, for example, Revolution Falcon. And it also has the ability that you could target a Raid Raptor XZ monster, and then you rank it up by 2 ranks, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of the Rank Up, or the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launch. Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launch is pretty good because you get get to target, during your main phase, you target a Dark XZ monster you control with no materials. Then you special summon a Dark XZ monster that has 1 rank higher than the monster that you had on the field. Usually in the deck, I'm going to go directly in from a Dark Rebellion into a copy of my either Dark Requiem or Arc Rebellion. It kind of depends on which way you want to go in this deck. We then play 2 copies of the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Force. This card is the card that you're going to be using the most to rank up in the deck, and there's a really cool combo in the deck that you can actually go from a Force Strix to a Arsenal Falcon, and then from Arsenal Falcon to Ultimate Falcon, which is really easy in the deck to do, but it is there in case you need it, and this is a card that you're going to be searching a lot in the deck. So that's it for the spells. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Fogblade. Basically, if you don't know what this card does, it's basically Fiendish Chain. You activate it, negate a monster effect on the field, and then that monster also can't attack or be attacked, which is an added effect that Fiendish Chain doesn't do, that it can't be attacked. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard to bring a Phantom Knight back to your side of the field, which is pretty good. I play a single copy of Raidraptor's Phantom Knight's Claw. This card's pretty good in the deck too, that when a monster effect is activated, you detach a material from this card, or you detach a material from a Dark XZ monster and negate the activation if you do destroy that card. And then if it detached material was a Phantom Knight, Raidraptor, or Dark XZ Dragon, and 1 Raidraptor XZ monster you control gains the attack of the monster that was destroyed by this effect. We then play 2 copies of Shade Brigandine, which just basically special summons itself to your side of the field as a level 4 monster. And if you don't have a trap in the graveyard, you can activate it the same turn it was set. So it's pretty good to be able to just get it onto your side of the field as quickly as possible as a good rank 4 play. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Force Strix. Force Strix is probably one of the most ridiculous cards in this entire deck, that you can detach a material from this card to be able to add a dark level 4 Wing Beast monster from your deck to your hand, and it gains 500 attack and defense for each Wing Beast type monster you control other than itself, which is a really good effect. We play a single copy of Revolution Falcon, which can board wipe on its own just by going after your opponent with this card to be able to attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls. It can OTK on its own as well because it has a really neat effect that once per turn you can detach material from this card, or once per turn you can target 1 card on the field and you do destroy it, and if you do inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack the monster had. And it also has the ability you can detach material from this card, and then this turn this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls, and at the start of the damage step, if it battles a monster that was special summoned, then that monster's attack and defense becomes 0. So if your opponent has 4 monsters and this card comes out on the field, you can, and they're all special summon, you can swing at your opponent and destroy their entire board, and they take 2,000 for each one, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Revolution Falcon Air Raid. Air Raid basically helps you go into your copy of Revolution Falcon because it has the ability that if this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, or opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Raidraptor Revolution Falcon from your extra deck, and if you do, attach this card as a material. And it basically also lets you discard a rank up magic spell, and using a rank 5 or lower Raidraptor monster as a material, you can summon this card as well, which is pretty good. And then you can target 1 opponent's card and destroy it that was face up on the field and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack as well, which is pretty good to be able to just destroy cards on the field. Arsenal Falcon. Arsenal Falcon is a really powerful card in this deck that I absolutely love. You rank up into it using your copy of the Phantom Knight's Force, and it has the ability that once per turn you can detach a material, special summon a level 4 Wing Beast monster from your deck, and if this card has a number of Raidraptor monsters of material, it can attack up to that many times during each battle phase. And if this card is sent to the graveyard while it has a Raidraptor monster as a material, you can special summon a Raidraptor XZ monster from your extra deck, except another copy of itself, and if you attach this card as a material, which is always going to be Ultimate Falcon. We then play a single copy of Satellite Cannon Falcon. Satellite Cannon Falcon just basically is Harpy's Feather Duster against your opponent. You can climb into it sometimes, but you usually don't anymore, because you're going to go directly into your Ultimate Falcon, but it's there in case you need it. This card is basically one of the most powerful cards in the entire extra deck, and you go into it using your old Arsenal Falcon now. But basically what it does is during each player's end phase, your opponent's monsters lose 1,000 attack, and if they don't control a monster, then they take 1,000 points of damage. It's unaffected by every other card effect, and you can detach a material from this card, and then make all monsters your opponent control lose 1,000 attack as well, which is pretty good just to be able to make them lose 1,000 attack. We play a single copy of Arc Rebellion, which is just basically a big OTK maker. A single copy of Dark Requiem Dragon. This card is pretty good too because once per turn you can detach a material from this card to target a face card your opponent controls and make it attack 0. And if it does, this card gains attack equal to the original attack of the opponent's monster. And then during either player's turn, when the opponent's monster activates its effect, you can detach a material, negate the activation if you do destroy that card. And you can special summon an XZ monster from your graveyard, which could be your Arc Rebellion or your Dark Rebellion from the graveyard. Speaking of Dark Rebellion, play a single copy of Dark Rebellion. You got to play a single copy of Dark Rebellion in the deck because you can detach 2, target opponent's monster, and half its attack, and then this card gains the attack it lost. But you use this card to go into Arc Rebellion and Dark Rebellion. Requiem. And then we play a single copy of Cyber Dragon Infinity. Cyber Dragon Infinity is summoned the way that I told you guys earlier, with the copy of Soul Shape Force and Force Strix to be able to go into this card. Evil Sworn Nightmare is basically Book of Moon that you can play as well. Phantom Knights, Rusty Bardige. You're playing Phantom Knights, you got to play this card. It's really helpful. Searches out your Phantom Knight cards from the deck and sends a copy of either Ancient Cloak or your copy of Silent Booties from your deck to the graveyard. And then we play 2 copies of Wise Tricks because it's probably one of the best cards in the entire extra deck. And the starter card of the entire extra deck, that's Link Zone. You can special summon a level 4 Darkwing Beast monster from your deck in defense position, but it can't be used as link material. And it also has the effect of, if a Raid Raptor XZ monster's effect is activated, you get to set a rank up magic spell directly from your deck to your side of the field. And if it's a quick play, it can be activated the same turn. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really cool deck to play with. I highly recommend that if you guys have not played with Raid Raptors before, definitely pick them up because they're not a super expensive deck anymore, except for Tribute Lanius. Tribute Lanius is a little bit expensive, but it's going to get a reprint soon. They've actually already confirmed a reprint for this card, but it's going to be a really good deck to play around with. So anyways, guys, this is Dark Arm Duels. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next videos. See you later, guys.